Hello everyone and welcome to another Let's Play. My name is Anna Mordal and this is A Little Lily Princess by Hanako Games. So I didn't realize this, but when we finished Lavinia's playthrough last time, apparently there was some extra artwork at the end. So I'm gonna boot up my old save. Oh. Well, actually it didn't. But I did notice that there's this new extras with gallery. And so these are pictures that I guess we've unlocked. Okay, that's everyone trying to dance or learn dancing. This is this is everybody out walking. That's the museum trip. This is Lavinia and Sarah hugging. This is the Jessie ending with the pretty artwork. And that's Jessie and Sarah kissing. I forgot about that. I like that picture. There's Lavinia holding us against the wall and crying, and then holding us against the wall again. So I don't see any more pictures. Somebody mentioned that I had missed the extra pictures, so maybe that only happens when we do all of the endings. What else is extra? Bonus. Oh. Well, that's Lavinia and Sarah. Okay. Music. There's lots of different music. Checklist. Oh, okay, that's cool. So this is perfect for completionist people like me. So we did Jessie's happy ending. We did Lavinia's happy ending. We haven't done Lottie or got married to Becky. Skipping activities through max resources. We got a Steam award for that. Visiting the gallery and viewing the bonus image. So look at all the things we've done. So is it just one bonus image? Is it a different one depending on what ending you've just done? Is there some Jessie bonus image I've missed? Go back. Gallery. And the bonus image didn't go into the gallery. I don't know what that means. I might ping them on Twitter. What is the bonus image? Where does it live? But that's a good bonus image. I'm very happy that Sarah and Lavinia finally got to spend the night together in bed without Miss Minchin ruining things. So, okay, I promised I would try to go through all the other endings. As you saw, we've got 4 more. Okay, which is a lot. There's Mariette, there's Becky, there's Ermengarde, and there's Lottie. I think I kind of want to do a Becky ending. I really like Mariette. I do, don't get me wrong. And I had thought I would do Mariette next, but I felt unexpectedly really bad at the end of the Lavinia ending because I was like, but what happens to Becky? And there's like one line about how Becky moves out with us and doesn't stay with Miss Minchin, which is good, but I still want her to have a friend. So, if you're just joining us, I should have already said this. We have a Little Lily Princess playlist with the different paths, and I'm skipping the stuff that you've already seen and done because I don't want to do it twice. So this is a story based on a little princess about a girl who is at a boarding school, and she's very rich for a long time, and then she's very poor, and so she sees kind of both sides of the rich-poor fence, as it were. And, you know, we're not going to have Becky open to us for a long time, because she doesn't show up until, like, halfway through the story. So, I'm going to go ahead and play the Jessie event, because it doesn't cost anything. But otherwise, I won't be playing things because I don't want to lose the stuff that I'm building up with visits. We've already seen this, though. So we're just going to zip through it. This may be a fast playthrough, because like I said, Becky doesn't show up until fairly late in the game. That's Mariette, so we can have an event with her if we want. I think we've seen this one already, yes. Zoom. This is actually kind of nice because there's not that stress of, oh my gosh, I gotta get all the Lavinia stuff right at the beginning. I can kind of build things up. That's Ermengarde. Got to meet her for the 5 sympathy. Okay, so I don't actually want to invest in any of these because I don't want to spend my hard-earned points. Zoom. What's patience? Patience is the little clock one. What gives me patience? Dance. Dance gives me patience. Well, okay then. Zoom. No event. Zoom. I'm legally required to make that sound every time. I'm sorry. You're just gonna have to get used to it. Okay, go this way. That's a lot of vigor. We didn't need it. I don't think we need toys. What gives us grace? Dance. Okay, this is a Lottie scene. That was us dancing. What gives patience? That gave us a lot of patience. Okay. Skip week. When does Becky show up? I was gonna actually do the Becky bits that we've seen. But she doesn't show up until way late. A new weekday is available. She can tutor. Okay. No event. Wait, was that? There we go. There's our first glimpse of Becky. Sarah had been out on the town buying a new book, and as she rode in the comfortable carriage back to Miss Minchin's school, her mind was filling up with stories and histories. Quite unconsciously, she descended the carriage steps with the grace of a queen, looking much grander than she might have imagined if she were the sort of girl to think in great detail about how she looked. As Sarah crossed the pavement, she caught sight of a dingy little figure down on the servants' area's steps, a girl with a soot-smudged face peering up at her with wide eyes. Something in the eagerness and timidity of that smudgy face made Sarah look back, and when she looked, she smiled, because it was her way to smile at people. The eyes went even wider as if afraid that she ought not to have been caught looking at a pupil of importance. The maid, if that was what she was, turned and scurried back into the kitchen, vanishing as quickly as a reverse jack-in-the-box. Poor little forlorn thing. I wonder who she is. Okay. The greatest power Sarah possessed was her power of telling stories and of making everything she talked about seem like a story, whether it was one or not. It was that power which Lavinia and certain other girls were most envious of, and at the same time most fascinated by in spite of themselves. And it was in service of that power that so many of Miss Minchin's students had gathered in Sarah's jewel box rooms, seating themselves on chairs or cushions or rugs to listen. The princess sat on the white rocks beside the lagoon with a shining white lily in her hands, and as she turned it this way and that, she watched its reflection dance across the water below. The waters of the lagoon lay still, crystal clear and green as glass, but the princess could only see her flower in the reflection and never herself. So she looked, and until at last she saw a face in the waters, not her face, but the face of a merman. Sarah went on to tell of the courtship between the princess and the merman prince, and the girls who listened sighed sweetly and leaned their cheeks against their hands or each other. As they listened, the door to the room swung silently open, and that same dirty figure Sarah had glimpsed before crept into the room, carrying a heavy coal box. The maid was cleaner than she had been on that other day, but seemed just as frightened. She hunched by the fire, afraid to even look at the other children or appear to be listening. She put on pieces of coal cautiously with her fingers, so that she might make no disturbing noise, and she swept about the fire irons very softly. But Sarah saw that she was doing her work slowly in the hope of catching a word here and there, and realizing this, she raised her voice and spoke more clearly. The princess took her seat in the great clear bubble carriage, and a team of 6 seahorses pulled her into the ocean, their harnesses woven with pearls. Down into the sea they dove. At first the water grew dark, and the princess was afraid, but then, far below, fluttering and rippling through the depths, there shone a light. The small drudge before the grate swept the hearth once, then swept it again, and finally forgot to play at sweeping at all. The brush hung idly from her fingers as Sarah described winding grottos beneath the sea, paved with silver sand and lit by glowing sea stars. It was the choirs of mermaids singing that proved her undoing. The forgotten brush slipped from her fingers to clatter against the hearth and drew Lavinia's attention. "What? That girl has been listening!" The culprit snatched up her brush and scrambled to her feet. She grabbed the coal box and simply scuttled out of the room like a frightened insect fleeing for cover. I knew she was listening. Why shouldn't she? She isn't one of us, Sarah. It isn't proper to talk with servants. Unless they are upper servants, like your Mariette. That's all right. I wasn't talking with her. I was telling a story. I do not know whether your papa would like you to tell stories to servant girls, but I know my papa wouldn't like me to do it. My papa? I don't believe he would mind in the least. He knows that stories belong to everybody. Nothing belongs to everybody. If it did, they'd all have to fight over it. Only loyal Ermengarde took Sarah's side. I think Sarah should tell stories to whomever she wants to tell them. You wouldn't think it was wrong if she told stories at table, would you? I should think it rather odd if she were telling stories to a cat. Oh, please, Sarah, Mama, finish the story. Sarah looked at the room full of eager, upturned faces. No one wished to follow and harass the fleeing maid, but no one wished to go invite her back again either. She would continue her fairy story. She would not forget. Oh man, she's still not available yet. What the heck? What the heck, man? Looking at the hearth in her room, Sarah was reminded of the little servant she had seen before. In truth, she had looked for the girl earlier, but had been unable to spot such a person anywhere in the school. If not for the disagreement with her listeners, Sarah might have thought she imagined her. Sarah understood that it would cause disruption if she barged into the kitchen to ask questions. She had only one bridge to rely on. Mariette, who is the little girl who makes the fires? Ah, Mademoiselle Sarah, you might well ask, that poor little one. She has just recently been taken on as a scullery maid, though scullery is the least of it. She is sent to do every task that no one wants. She blacks the boots and grates. She carries the coal scuttles up. She carries the coal scuttles up and down stairs. She scrubs the floors and the windows. I think she has not had enough to eat for years. She is older than her height would tell, and so timid. If I try to speak to her, her little eyes look to pop right out of her head. What is her name? I hear that called often enough. Becky do this, Becky do that. Everyone below stairs orders her about. Becky. If life were a story, Becky might be the ill-used heroine, and perhaps a fairy godmother might come to her rescue. You have a kind heart, mademoiselle. Your papa would be proud. Now stand up straight. Let me have a look at you. All right? Just as I thought, you are growing taller. Sarah looked down at herself. I don't feel any different. How much have I changed since I've been here? So that's all they're going to say about Becky. Now we're going to see some birds. Becky, why will you not talk with us, Becky? Still not available. Oh, there's one. I have to scroll back. Sarah's rooms at Miss Minchin's seminary were not like the rooms of ordinary pupils who were meant to be satisfied with simple necessities. There were pictures and books and curious things from India. There was a sofa and a low, soft chair. Emily, the doll, sat in a chair of her own with the air of a presiding goddess, and there was always a glowing fire and a polished grate. Because the room was such a nice, bright, pretty place, the little scullery maid known as Becky liked to save it until the end of her afternoon's work. If luck was with her, she could snatch a few moments to sit alone in the soft chair and look around, thinking about the wonderful good fortune of the child who owned such surroundings. On this afternoon, when she sat down, the sensation of relief to her short, aching legs had been so wonderful and so delightful that it seemed to soothe her whole body, and the glow of warmth and comfort from the fire crept over her like a spell. Her hard-working young body was tired past the limits of endurance. As she looked at the red coals, a tired, slow smile stole over her smudged face. Her head nodded forward without her being aware of it, and her eyelids drooped. Thus it was that when Sarah returned to her rooms, her mind full of song and dance, she found an empty coal box on her floor, and a maid so deeply asleep she might have been an enchanted princess. Oh, that poor thing! Becky looked nothing like any illustration of sleeping beauty. Her gown was stained, her face smeared with soot, and her poor little kerchief hung half off her head. Even her face, beneath the dirt, was a plain one. She looked only like an ugly, stunted, worn-out little scullery drudge. But Sarah was not cross to find such a figure in her own favorite chair. The ill-used heroine of the story, Now I can talk to her when she wakes." She crept closer to the chair, walking quietly on raised feet, and stood there looking at her. "I wish she'd waken herself. I don't wish to wake her, but Miss Minchin will be cross if she finds out. I'll just wait a few minutes." She took a seat on the edge of the table and sat swinging her slim legs. If Miss Minchin came looking for Becky, she was sure to be scolded. "But she is so tired." At that moment, Sarah's decision was interrupted by a popping sound from the fire. A piece of flaming coal had broken and shifted. Becky did not realize at first that she had fallen asleep. She only remembered sitting down for a moment and the gentle glow, and now here she found herself staring in wild alarm at the wonderful pupil, who sat perched quite near her like a fairy. Becky sprang to her feet, clutching at her kerchief to set it right. Oh, miss, I ask your pardon, miss. Oh, I do, miss." Sarah put her dainty feet on the ground and stood. "Don't be frightened. It doesn't matter the least bit." "I didn't go to do it, miss. It was the warm fire, and me being so tired. It weren't impertinence." Sarah broke into a friendly little laugh. "You were tired. You could not help it. You are not really awake yet." Ain't you angry, miss? Ain't you gonna tell the missus?" "No, of course I'm not." "I know I shouldn't have touched your things, miss." Sarah shook her head. "Why, we are just the same. I am only a little girl like you. It's just an accident that I am not you and you are not me." "An accident, miss?" "Have you done your work? Dare you stay here a few minutes?" "Here, miss? Me? If your bedrooms are finished, perhaps you might stay a tiny while. I thought perhaps you might like a piece of cake." "Cake? Me?" "Yes, of course." The next 10 minutes seemed to Becky like a sort of fever dream. The show pupil opened a cupboard and produced a thick slice of cake all for her, and actually seemed enthusiastic about watching Becky eat it. In between bites, Sarah managed to get answers to a few questions. "A few weeks ago, you were watching me through the area railing, weren't you?" "Yes, miss, Once I saw a princess. I was standing in the street with the crowd outside Covent Garden, watching the swells go into the opera, and there was one everyone stared at most. They says to each other, 'That's the princess.' She was a growed-up young lady, but she was pink and lace all over, and flowers and all, as pretty as anything. That was what you looked like, miss, that day. You look like her." "I've often thought that I should like to be a princess. I wonder what it feels like. I believe I will begin pretending I am one." "Ain't you already?" From elsewhere in the school there was the sound of a door slamming. "Oh, miss, I've gotta go." "Come back someday when you have more time, and I can finish that story you were listening to. I'm always putting new bits to it in my head." "Oh, miss, if you do that, I won't mind how heavy the coal boxes was, or what cooked unto me, if I might have that to think of." She bobbed an awkward little curtsy, grabbed for her kerchief when it slipped again, then hurried from the room. My heart. Now we can play Becky, which I really need to save. Hold on. I just realized if my game crashes or something. What week are we on? I don't know. Sarah came upon the little maid hard at work in the school corridors. "Becky?" "Oh, miss." So startled was she at being addressed that she fumbled the bucket of sooty brushes she carried, nearly dropping them. Sarah rushed forward to grab the handle and prevent a spill. "Miss, you oughtn't. You'll muck up your nice dress, you will." "It's all right. I'm being careful." "Please, miss, you shouldn't. It's not right." "Well, You are the expert, of course, so I'll leave things in your hands. Expert? Aren't you? I'm sure you're good at your work. Never heard it put that way, miss. Mariette says that everyone below stairs takes advantage of you and asks you to do too many things. They ought to thank you and tell you that you are doing good at your job. Becky looked so baffled at the idea of being thanked for her labors that Sarah could not let the matters rest. Is Miss Minchin very unkind to you? Shouldn't say nothing about the missus, miss. Sarah looked up and down the hall, listening. No one is anywhere about. Come into my rooms if you feel safer that way. I shouldn't, miss. It's my first job, miss. First job in a real house, like. It's hard work, but at night I've got me own bedroom and me own bed. Never had that at the workhouse, miss. You didn't have a bed? Room's full of beds, miss, but more full of girls. Everyone squeezes. It's good in the winter, isn't it? Keeps you warm. Sarah did not lack for imagination, but she simply did not have the frame of reference to picture a workhouse dormitory with rows of narrow beds crammed together. The smallest sleeping quarters she had ever seen were those on board the ship which brought Sarah and her papa to England. Here, sometimes it gets real spooky up top with the wind, but it's still my room, so it's not so bad. If the missus hadn't given me this job, I don't know what I'd do. She is grateful for so little. Listen, are you done with your chores for a while? Would you like to come and have cake again? Oh, miss, I'd like that, but I've got these other rooms to do and the curtains and... She looked absolutely crestfallen at the idea of abandoning the cake, but still determined not to give up on her duties. Such unrewarded diligence. Miss Minchin does not deserve her. It's all right. I promise. I will keep the cake and wait for you. You can come by whenever you are finished for the day. Even if it's evening, miss? There's a whole heap and cooked sour today. If you work so late, then you need a treat even more, don't you? I'll stop getting in your way now. I don't want you to get in trouble for talking to me. I will see you later when you can, I promise. Thank you, miss. My heart. Okay, I need more sympathy. So I get none, 2, whatever. All right, we get a letter from Papa. Belief. Becky leaned back in the soft, comfortable chair and listened as Sarah spun a story for her. The tale involved a king who had 2 daughters but no sons, and who was under a terrible curse that only a hero who traveled the witch's road could lift. Each daughter swore to do her best to save her father, and thus they each outfitted themselves and went on separate journeys. The elder had hair of gold, and she wore bright silver armor and carried a thin-bladed sword with a hilt like a bell. The younger had hair of midnight and wore a dress of soft flowing blue. She carried no weapon other than her words and her kind heart. Becky was so entranced by Sarah's voice that she forgot for minutes at a time to keep eating the slice of cake she'd been handed. The elder princess chose the fiercest horse in the royal stables and galloped along the witch's road at great speed until she came to a metal bridge over the river. When the horse's hooves pounded onto the metal, they made such a clang that the horse was startled and the eldest daughter was flung from her saddle. The younger princess did not want to tire her favorite pony by making him carry her, so she walked down the witch's roads holding his reins. They went much more slowly, but at last they reached the bridge. Her gentle pony didn't want to touch the metal bridge, but he trusted the youngest daughter, and she soothed and petted him, and together they crossed the river. As Sarah's story continued, the kind young daughter encountered a monster which terrified her and required her bolder sister's approach to chase it away. Eventually, the two princesses learned to work together and progressed to the end of the road. And there, inside the twisted brambles of the witch's hut, they found their father. Was the curse broken? I was cursed, he said, because I had no sons to rule after me. I built this road myself as a test. But now the two of you have learned your strength, and I know that you can rule together. Oh. Becky folded her hands under her chin and let out a fond sigh. Could two princesses really rule a kingdom, miss? I don't see why not. Our queen was a princess once. Guess it's so. All of a sudden, she sat bolt upright in her chair. Blimey the time. Sorry, miss. It's all right. I suppose you ought to go. Becky looked dolefully at the thick slice of cake, still half uneaten, that sat before her. Can I take it with me, miss? I got my pocket here, and... Tied beneath Becky's apron was a stained oilcloth pouch, the surviving half of a discarded pair of pockets from some lady's wardrobe. Sarah did not imagine that any cake held in such a pocket would be pleasant to eat afterwards. She scolded herself that it was not her decision to make. Of course you can. Thank you, miss. She happily tipped the plate into her pocket. I can eat this later up in the attic, miss. I gotta eat it careful, 'cause if I leave crumbs, the rats will come out to get 'em. Rats? Are there rats there? Lots of 'em, miss. There mostly is rats and mice in attics. You get used to the noise they make scuttling about. I don't mind 'em so much, as long as they don't run over my pillow. Ooh! You can get used to anything after a bit. You have to, miss, if you're born like I was. I'd rather have rats than cockroaches. Oh, so would I. I think I might manage to make friends with a rat in time, but I don't believe I should like to make friends with a cockroach. Friends? Well, they are creatures, just like cats or dogs. They could be friendly. I think Becky needs that food more than the rats do, but I wonder if the rats are hungry too. Perhaps if there are any crumbs in your pocket, you should shake it out somewhere away from your bed, so that if the rats come out to eat, they won't bother you. That's clever, miss. Perhaps I'll try it. Oh, my heart. Let's see here. We've got belief and patience. That's right in diary. Sympathy. Belief and sympathy. There's belief, there's sympathy, there's more belief. Look at all that belief and sympathy. Okay, so we're in week 17. Save game. Becky 17. Return. Here we go. Sarah picked up her doll and smiled at her. You are looking a trifle tired today, Emily. You must have been very busy while I was out of the room. She gave the doll's curls a careful brushing, then tucked her into her own little cradle bed, arranging her hands to lie over the fabric cover. I think you'll feel better after a nap. I am hoping that Becky will come to visit today, but we'll try to be quiet so that we don't disturb you. With the air of an expectant hostess, Sarah moved around the room, running her hands over shelves and turning cushions to be just so. The room was always perfectly neat, of course. Sarah was not an untidy child by nature, and anything she might have disarranged since Becky's last visit would have been set straight by Mariette. Still, it seems the sort of thing a princess ought to do. Looking your best shows that you care about your visitors. Having reassured herself that everything was just so, she settled in at her desk with a sheet of sums to work for the classroom. £2, 12 shillings, 8 1/4 pence, plus 1 pound, 14 shillings, 5 1/4 pence. That's 2 farthings, 8 5 pence makes 1 shilling, and 1 penny. Addition and subtraction were simple tasks, but the complications of British currency were such that they needed to be practiced over and over again to be certain one did not forget. Becky's arrival was even more delightful when it meant putting those repetitive worksheets away. Becky! Come in, please sit down. She lowered her voice to a conspiratorial whisper. Emily is resting today, so you must be calm and quiet for her sake. That's all right, miss. I'm tired today, too. I've made a wonderful discovery to share with you. I was out at the shops, looking in windows for things that might fit neatly into your pocket and not fall into crumbs. Look. With a proud smile, she produced a tray of 3 little meat pies, sealed up tight with glazed crusts. Becky's eyes quite sparkled. Oh, miss, them will be nice and fillin'. It's filliness that's the best. Sponge cake's a heavenly thing, but it melts away like, if you understand, miss. These'll just stay in your stomach. I don't believe it would be a good thing if a pie stayed in your stomach for always. That line of thinking led somewhere indelicate, so she quickly abandoned it. I do hope they will be satisfying. I wish you had told me before about the cake. I could have brought something else before this. Beef sandwiches, perhaps, or rolls and bologna sausage. All that for me, miss? Of course, why not? I like to share food with you. I like to see you enjoy yourself. None of the girls here ever enjoy cook's meals half so much. But I might never have guessed you wanted something other than cake. Why didn't you tell me? Oh, please, miss. No one's ever been so kind to me before. Not even my own mum. How could I ask you for more? How could I? Were you afraid that if you asked me for something and I said no, that I would be angry with you? No, miss, but you've done so many nice things for me, and if I still weren't happy, that'd be right sour of me, you see? You wouldn't want somebody sour. Oh, Becky, you are never sour, not one bit. But we are friends, you and I. Friends, miss? Of course we are. And a friend isn't upset when a friend asks her for something, even if she might have to say no. I could have done this for you sooner if you hadn't kept it a secret what you wanted. Let's promise never to keep secrets from each other ever again. She held out her hand to seal the pact. Becky started to reach for it and then hesitated. Never at all, miss? What if there are some secrets that are nice, like surprises? Oh, I didn't think of that. You are very clever. Becky smiled in nervous agreement. I will make a better promise then. Let's promise to always trust each other if we need help. All right? All right. I really like that later in the story, Sarah has a moment of reflection when she realizes that every time she was nice to Becky, it wasn't just this unadulterated good that Becky, could enjoy and appreciate, because there was always the threat of Miss Minchin hanging over it. And that if they were caught, no matter how much Sarah might have said, it was my idea, I wanted it, this isn't Becky's fault, Becky still would have been the one hurt by Miss Minchin for this breach of decorum. So I really liked that later on in the game, in the story, it kind of goes into that Sarah's, she thinks she's being good, she's trying to be nice, but she's also, the scene looks different from Becky's point of view. So I'm glad that gets pointed out. I don't know what we need now. Patience and grace again, so the same as before. So, oh, not until week 23. Wow. That was a Becky scene, but we've seen it before. It was Lavinia shouting at Becky, basically. Lavinia is not having a good week, month, year. I don't know why I thought I was maxed out on everything. I'm not. We soon will be. Week 23. We've got to wait so many weeks until we can see Becky again. Are we not? Is week 23 when Act 2 happens? Miss? Oh! Sarah was startled when Becky caught her arm in the hallway one day. The scullery maid was usually too timid to be insistent. If Sarah did not call out to her, Becky would more often pass by unnoticed. What is it, Becky? Oh, miss, I heard it's your birthday soon, miss. Yes, it's next week. That's what I thought I heard, miss, but I weren't sure. When is your birthday, Becky? Don't know, miss. Never had one. But you must have a birthday. Everyone does. You were born. I don't rightly remember that part, miss. But if you don't know when you were born, how old are you? Not sure of that either, miss. The workhouse reckoned I were past 14 and old enough for service. She doesn't look 14. Mary had said she thought Becky was older than she appeared. Poor Becky, to have never had a birthday. Well then, if you have no birthday of your own, you shall share in mine. Miss? Miss Minchin asked if there was anything I wanted for my party. I want my papa to be there, but she can't fix that for me. But she can let you come to my party, and I'm sure she will if I ask her to. Oh, miss, are you sure? Of course I'm sure. Every little girl deserves birthday parties. Maybe you're older or maybe you're not, but you're still a little girl. Becky made a small noise, like a laugh half swallowed and tucked away. Oh, I've got to scarp her now, miss, but I hope you're right. When Sarah went into her sitting room in the afternoon, she found on the table a small dumpy package tied up in a piece of brown paper. A birthday present! And I think I know who it came from. She unwrapped the paper quite tenderly. Inside there was a square pincushion made out of not quite clean red flannel. Black pins had been stuck carefully into the surface to form the words, "Many happy returns." The sight and the thought of the pains Becky must have taken to put it all together gave Sarah a warm feeling in her heart. I like it so much that it makes me feel sorrowful. But the next moment, she was mystified. On the underside of the pincushion was secured a card bearing in neat letters the name Miss Maria Minchin. Sarah turned the card over in her hands in case some message were written on the underside, but there was nothing. Miss Minchin? How can it be? Just at that very moment, she heard the door being cautiously pushed open. Becky peeped around the door, then grinned and shuffled forward, pulling at her fingers. Do you like it, Miss Sarah? Do you? Like it? You darling! You made this all by yourself! Becky gave a hysteric but joyful sniff, and her eyes looked quite moist with delight. I can't do fancy stitching like Mariette, and it ain't nothing but flannel. and the flannel ain't new. But I wanted to get you something, so I worked on it at nights. I knew you could pretend it was satin with diamond pins. I tried to when I was making it. Oh yes, a blue satin cushion and pink diamonds, the rarest and most precious of all. Something Becky made with her own hands in her spare time when she has so little is already more precious than diamonds. But why does it have Miss Minchin's card on it? It weren't wrong of me to pick it up out of the dustbin, was it? Miss Minchin had thrown it away. I ain't got a card of my own, and I knew it wouldn't be a proper present if I didn't pin a card on, so I pinned Miss Minchin's. Sarah flew at her and hugged her. She could not have told herself or anyone else why there was a lump in her throat. Oh, Becky, I love you, Becky. I do, I do. Oh, miss, thank you, miss, kindly. But it ain't good enough for that. The flannel weren't new. Sarah laughed into Becky's neck, a queer little laugh that sounded almost as much like tears as it did like joy. You are far too sweet. She pulled back, looking into Becky's dear face. I wish I were the fairy godmother who could bring you a magical dress and turn you into the princess you deserve to be. Me? Of course, you are the kind and ill-treated heroine who works hard every day without any thanks. In any proper story, you ought to turn out to be the lost daughter of a king. Don't think my mum's ever seen a king, miss. It doesn't have to be that way. A fairy tale baby might be sent down the river on a tiny boat to safety, or discovered curled up inside a walnut shell. Don't think I'd ever fit in a walnut shell either. Sarah giggled. Well, however you were born and wherever you came from, I'm very glad that you're here now with me. I'm gonna cry. Okay. We need sympathy and belief again. Although I don't think it matters because I think we're about to lose everything. Everything. Okay, so that is the end of Act 1. We had a birthday party and our father, we found out, was dead. And I have no idea what week we're on. Maybe 25. So what I'm going to do is I usually cut these videos into two, like an Act 1 and Act 2. That worked really well with Lavinia, so I want to do that for everyone else. Even though I know this Act 1 was actually probably a lot faster than Lavinia's Act 1, because I think there were fewer conversations, or I'm not sure. But I will do the Act 2 and upload it, so you won't have to wait. Gosh, I have so many feels about Becky. I really do. And like I said, I really appreciate that. While still characterizing Sarah as a sweet, tender, kind-hearted person, we are led to understand that everything she's doing that she thinks is sweet and well-intentioned is putting Becky in danger. It's good that she's doing it. I mean, don't get me wrong. She needs warmth and food and friendship, but it's complicated, and it's kind of, I think it's a lot of nuance. I really like that. And I just love Becky so much. I hope we can save her. I want a good ending for her. So this has been A Little Lily Princess by Hanako Games. My name is Anna Mardal. Hi. You're probably not new here because we're in the midst of a long playlist, but if you are new here, you should totally subscribe to my feed because it's an awesome feed, and I do try to update when I can, and we have fun here. So and cake. We have fun and we have cake. So I will see you in the next video, and bye for now.